Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.
Welcome back to the show. Today we have Jonathan Skogmo. He's the founder and CEO at Jukin Media. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. I've actually known about you guys for a while, obviously seen a ton of your content, but maybe before we get into all that stuff, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
Totally, absolutely. Grew up in Chicago, Illinois, actually right outside Chicago.
Okay.
Grew up there and lived there for most of my life until I moved out to LA about 14 years ago.
Okay, very cool. You went to university. What did you take and why?
Well, I went to Columbia College
Okay.
in Chicago, which is a liberal arts college with a focus on film. Being in media entertainment has always been a lifelong dream of mine.
Okay.
And so I really enjoyed cinema, and so I thought it was a great kind of focus for me to work on.
Sure. So what got you passionate about film and media at an early age?
That's a good question. I don't know if there was really one kind of incident or one type of initiative that really got me interested in it. I just know I really loved going to the theaters as a kid. My parents had a video camera, a home video camera that I constantly played with, constantly made my friends be actors in my movies, and my brother as well.
Okay.
And so it was just something I was always fascinated with, and always fascinated with, I think, storytelling and telling great stories, particularly through the medium of film.
Very cool. So walk me through your career up until founding Jugen Media.
Yeah, so it all kind of comes together in a nice arc that wasn't planned that way.
Okay.
When I was in college, my senior year, and right after I graduated, I was very lucky to work on some pretty big films in Chicago that came by. I mean, there weren't that many films that are shot in Chicago. Obviously, it's not like Hollywood. But I was very lucky to land on some jobs, one particular being the Batman movie.
Oh, nice.
The first one, Christopher Nolan did. So I was very lucky to be on such a huge set and have great experience. And obviously, I was extremely low on the totem pole, the lowest you can get being in college.
Sure.
But then I was able to work on a few more films after that. I think it was 3 or 4 before moving out to LA, which I knew I had to do, even though as much as I love Chicago and still love it, still think it's the greatest city in the world. But I know Los Angeles and Hollywood is the mega capital for entertainment and media. And so I just knew I had to make the move. And so, like I said, I did that about 14 years ago. And feel free to jump in if you have any questions, by the way.
Sure.
So I did that about 14 years ago. And with my resume of working on, some of these big films in Chicago, I thought it might be, I didn't think it would be too hard to get a job, but as you know, it was actually extremely hard.
Sure.
I don't think people really cared. I also didn't really have the connections. Moved out here, really didn't know anybody. I knew my roommate at the time who moved out here just a few months before me.
Okay.
But that was really the only person I had a relationship with. And I was doing any type of, I was trying to get in any type of job that I could. And I just found it really hard, really a struggle for that first few months being lost. And I was also somebody who lived at home during college, and I would commute into the city.
Okay.
And so it was like almost the first time to be living on my own, doing all these things independently. And I was doing these random jobs like I was working at a temp agency for a little bit. I worked for various companies. I was working a producer who worked out in the Valley. She she created some big shows, and she was in between jobs right now, and I think she felt bad for me, but she gave me a lot of kind of like yard work stuff to do around her home, and she was gonna hire me as soon as she started her production company again. But in the meantime, I was like driving her kid to school, doing that sort of thing. They were very nice, but it definitely wasn't in the space, but I needed the money, and ended up landing a job at a hotel.
Okay.
Again, just because I needed the money, being a bellman, checking people and wealthy people in the Beverly Hills.
Okay.
When that producer, after doing that for about 6 months or so, that producer who befriended one of her friends was actually was working on a show, a pilot, and they needed a production assistant. They needed somebody who would come in and do various jobs around the office, around the set, help doing some research because it was a clip show.
Okay.
It was a 6-week job, and I was finally comfortable. I think kind of having a steady paycheck after not having one for a little bit from the hotel, but I was a little worried about quitting my job to go work on the show for 6 weeks, this pilot. And the producer, I remember, told me is, John, you moved out here to LA to take risks and not work at a fucking hotel. So go take the job. And I said, oh my God, you're absolutely right. What am I thinking? So I did that. And like I said, this job was a clip show. It was a show that was airing on country music television.
Okay.
And it was an idea from these clip producers who just happened to also be from Chicago, a small production company in Hollywood, where they were taking a different spin on America's Funniest Home Videos and focusing on that CMT audience. And the show was called Country Fried Home Videos. And they wanted me on there for a pilot to help source video content. And so I did that. Next thing you know, that show ended up getting picked up after 6 weeks. After doing the production for 6 weeks, the show aired and did fairly decent numbers, and they ordered I think CMT ordered a 12 episode for the first season, and so producers obviously wanted me to come back. At that time, we were getting video submissions.
Okay.
Because we said at the end of that first pilot episode, we said, call to action, send in your VHS tape or DVD for a chance to be on the show. And we had a P.O. box set up in Hollywood.
Interesting. So you guys were very early on in that space then.
Yeah, this was 2005, early 2005.
Okay.
And so the show was a derivative version of America's Funniest Home Videos. We brought in a host, a guy named Bill Engvall, who was really popular at the time because that blue collar comedy.
Yeah, I remember
very
him.
Popular. Yeah, Jeff Foxworthy, Larry the Cable Guy. They all kind of came up together, and they were really big during that time. So we brought Bill involved, got Bill involved, and my job literally was to be a researcher on that first season, and my job was to go to the P.O. box every day and pick up VHS tapes that people would send in.
Okay, and, interesting.
And I would come back to my desk with a case full of tapes, and I had a VHS player, and which doesn't seem that long ago. And it's really weird that you had a VHS player on your desk and a DVD player and a little TV monitor. And I'd watch these really bad videos that people would send in across America. These really big envelopes that smelled really bad. I don't know why. It has this really kind of crazy stench to it. Kind of a stench that will never go away, I guess. But if the video was any good, and most of them, like I said, were bad, I had to call that person up, get additional clearance footage, get additional paperwork that they had to sign. And then I would ask them if they had any B-roll, any more footage, and then they would send it in the mail. And by the time I actually cleared a video, it could take up to a few weeks.
Okay, sure.
And I really thought this was an archaic system. And my supervising producer at the time, they had a long background in clearance, and they had a long background in journalism, and they were producing shows for the last 20 years. And I told them that we should kind of reverse the model we shouldn't let just people rely on people to send in videos. They're also looking for they're also looking for footage through news organizations and stock footage houses. But I said that, there's all this great content online, and we should try to source down videos. And again, this is very early 1.0 days of online video,
Sure.
where there wasn't any really kind of, I would say, main website that was hosting and curating content, or people were posting. It was kind of like the Wild West. And
Okay.
particularly in those, if you remember, it was like a lot of anybody uploaded video online. If you saw a video online during that time, it was a lot of jackassy wannabe stuff,
Yeah, I remember those days.
guys lighting their crotches on fire, and shocking, jumping off roofs. It was really kind of shocking stuff. And my producers told me, "Shut up, kid. You can't trust that. You should go to the PO box every day, and, whatever." And I, just being the person I am, I thought there was a huge opportunity to help source content. I was looking for some websites to find videos, and I finally came across a video website that I thought was really good. It was family-friendly content. In the video description, the poster said, "Hey, this is my cousin doing this funny thing." It was the description, made it very easy for me to think that person owned the video, and that I can reach out to them. And so it was a funny video, and I thought it was pretty good quality. And I said, "Hey," I reached out to them, sent them a direct message. DMing someone was also very new at the time,
Sure.
particularly on these platforms. Sent them a direct message and say, "Hey, I want to license your video for this TV show. Will you be interested?
Okay.
We'll pay you, a few $100. Next thing you know it, I get a response back from this person, and they say, "Absolutely, we want to be on the show," because everyone wants to be on TV. And so
Sure.
I got their contact information. I sent them an agreement, and they sent over the video, and I was able to download it within a few hours.
Very cool.
And so I thought, wow, how do I do this over and over? And to make this long story short, I thought it was a really great opportunity to leverage this online video platform that no one ever heard before and get a lot of video content.
Sure.
And so I was able to do that over and over and over again. And so by the end of the season happened, while I was still going to the PO box every day, I was actually getting all this great content. And I said the owners of this small production company, they thought it was really interesting how this research and production assistant was able to clear so much content, and I was doing better than the guys, the supervising producers that had all this experience.
Interesting.
Anyway, by the next season, they ended up firing those producers, and they decided to make me a producer.
Okay.
And they said, "Why don't you produce a show and teach other researchers how you find content online, and why don't you just replicate that?" And so I did that, and I was using this platform that no one ever used, no one ever heard of before, called YouTube.
Okay, sure.
So,
Yeah, you're very early on then. Yeah.
I was a very early adopter of the platform. I was very early adopter to find content and use it, and so I really just kind of took advantage of being at the right place at the right time. So this 6-week job ended up turning into almost 3 years of me working on the show. We produced a few other shows. This one show, I think, went on to 6 or 5 seasons or something, over 100 episodes, something like that. It did really well, and it was interesting. It was a weird time in Hollywood that, if you remember, the writer's strike happened back in 2007-ish, I believe it was. And so online video really started taking off. Obviously, YouTube started taking off. But also scripted TV that we see today, we're in the golden age of scripted TV, so many scripted shows. Well, all those, obviously couldn't happen during the writer's strike. And what happened was there was an surge of reality shows, non-scripted shows, and clip shows got very popular.
Yep.
And so every cable network wanted their own version of a clip show. And so I was very successful with this company. And for the show, I became a little bit in high demand in this very exclusive underground clip show producing world, right?
Sure.
And so I was the guy to produce these shows and find all this content. So I started jumping around freelancing from show to show, producing these type of clip shows. And so I worked on World's Wildest Vacation videos, which was, I think, for True TV, or Travel Channel did another show for True, produced something for MTV. And then I landed at Discovery, so I started producing shows for about 5 years or so, producing every type of clip show. And I really realized the value of this content. This content's not going away. And this is when smartphones really started to become popular, people
Sure.
creating content on smartphones. So not only was it easier to capture really great content, but it was really people wanted to share that content with the world as well. As social media and social platforms got more popular. And so the ability for lots of people to see your content became a lot easier. And I felt like there was really a great opportunity to start buying that IP. And so that's kind of led me to the point right before I created Jukin.
Okay. So what made you actually decide to create it, though, and basically go into this full time?
Yeah. So seeing kind of the popularity of this content, knowing there's been stock footage houses,
Right.
and they sold just rainbows and skylines and waterfalls and that sort of thing. They're still very popular. I thought it would be interesting for someone to start creating kind of like a stock footage library, except with viral content or user-generated content, social video. I thought that was a really great opportunity to start curating that content and start buying the rights. And literally, it was 10 years ago, I went to this conference that just happened last week. It's weird, we're almost 10 years, or it happened this week, so we're 10 years to the date, actually. Whenever it was, this conference took place, and it's called MIPCOM.
Yeah.
It takes place twice a year. Actually, this conference is called MIPTV. It's the same people who throw it. And I was sent there at a company. I was working for Discovery, and I was sent to this conference to find video footage for producing the show. That we needed some international stories because we were doing an international version of the show, which had to be 2 minutes longer in the running time, which usually is for international shows. And so they sent me to this conference to find footage. But what I didn't realize is this conference would really spark the idea, or at least trigger the idea, of becoming the inciting incident for Jugen Media. And so at this conference, you buy and sell the rights to different territories of different TV shows and TV formats. And so it takes place in the south of France, at Cannes. You go into this huge, what they call the Palais area, where there's all these booths of the biggest media companies in the world selling their shows to the smallest production companies from Poland or Turkey, or name your favorite European country. They're selling different shows to different territories. They're selling American Idol into Poland. They're selling that into Turkey. There's these it's a huge kind of buffet of video programming, which these big television screens. And I go there, my mind's blown. First off, I've never been to Europe. Second off, I've never been to a conference like this. Yeah. And so I was there to find footage, but really I was there to find an idea for a company. And so they're buying the rights to all this footage. And I realized how important right then and there, as I heard in the past from my previous producers, is to own the IP. It is really hard to own intellectual property, particularly in a long-form series. I've always heard it's important, but it's hard to do that because what you need to be is that really uber producer, or you need to have the money and the financing to pay for it yourself, or have someone else. Yeah. So that's how the only way you really own IP. And so I was actually walking by a booth, and I saw a show that was being sold to different territories, a finished show that I helped produce. So the show I produced a year or two prior, it was being sold to different territories. And I got a little upset because I was a freelance producer, again, made a little name for myself, jumping around from show to show. I ended a job on a Friday, started a new job at a new company on a Monday.
Gotcha.
But I didn't have any ownership. I didn't own any participation. So when I saw this being sold overseas, I realized, I got to be able to own the IP. But how do I own the IP? I don't know. I don't have the money. I don't have the huge background experience. But I thought it was a clip show that I produced that I help produce these stories, these segments, and I help find these clips. I could own those individual clips and make up a show.
Okay.
So I said, I'm going to, literally, I came back from that conference inspired, realizing that there was this opportunity to market as technology was getting better, realizing that I could own the IP. I quit my job for this production company I was producing for Discovery, and I started buying these individual videos.
Very cool, man. No, that's cool. So what show did you create? Is it still around, or walk us through that?
The shows when I worked for other people.
No, the one that you created yourself, the first one.
So I quit. So I'll go into how the kind of company started, because now we go back there. So we're back at the conference, 10 years later, and I'm selling like 3 or 4 different shows.
Sure.
Which is really cool, finished properties. But what I really did is I came back, I quit my job,
yeah,
and I started buying these individual videos that made up the show.
Okay, yeah. I got you. Very cool. You put it all together. Okay, what was that show called?
So so I wasn't producing it. I quit. I started buying these videos and relicensing them back to other producers.
Okay. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Okay.
So, like the first video I bought it for $200. I bought the exclusive rights.
Okay.
I knew the production company. I knew the budgets for these shows, which were a lot bigger than they are now. But I knew how much they could pay for it, because I knew a lot of the producers on the show. I've worked with them in the past. Okay. I knew how much the networks were paying, and so I bought that video for $200. I had a lawyer, called the lawyer, my drive-off license agreement.
Yeah. Took
that video, licensed it to the show for $2,000.
Got you.
So I made $1,800 in profit. I took that same video that now I own, relicensed it to somebody else, another show, for $1,000.
Sure.
And then I made $2,800. And off that $200 investment and the lawyer drafting up some agreements, I bought 14 more videos.
Wow. Interesting.
And really started scaling the company from my apartment. So I was doing this from my apartment. I felt a little liberated, because I was working for this production company in the past, and the last 2 companies, making other people rich, making other producers a lot of money.
Sure.
It became not such of a creative atmosphere, which I really wanted to get involved in. It became more like a factory. And I thought, well, if I'm doing this for somebody else, I could do it for myself. And so instead of producing a show quite yet, I was starting to find all those videos so other people can produce them. But at least I own the IP. And once you own the IP, I own the perpetual. And so literally this company was as bootstrapped as you can get.
Wow.
I had people in folding tables in my chairs when I started to hire them.
Wow.
People at minimum wage. My roommate moved out, so I turned his bedroom into an office. I put 2 desks in there.
Okay.
I had 2 desks in his room. I had a desk in the living room, and then a desk in my room where I would work from.
Interesting. Okay, so walk me through, because you guys have been around a long time now. Walk me through your journey up until how it's evolved to what you guys are doing today. Is it similar? Is it different? A bit of both? Walk us through that.
So in theory, it's the exact same thing. So we're acquiring content, really great stories told by everyday people.
Okay.
Stories that involve inspiration, that's something funny. A lot of times that lightning in the bottle moment.
Okay.
It's that moment where you can't remanufacture. The content is authentic, it's organic. And so that is the content that we acquire that we feel like we can really monetize. And our job is to monetize that video over and over again.
Okay.
And it's not only good for us, but it's really good, a lot of our deals today are not so much buyouts, they're more rev share. And so the original video owner now gets to participate in this revenue.
Smart.
And so in theory, the companies, that's what we were doing back then. So when I first started, I was only licensing back to the TV shows that in the clip show world that I knew. Okay. That's how the business started out, and that's how it grew organically. It was the first client. Today, you fast forward, and I can dive into any areas you want, but we're acquiring these great videos. We've now built a great tech stack, technology to help us find these videos. There are people around the world helping us find these really great stories. And on the licensing side, we built a marketplace. Think of like a Getty Images for viral video.
Sure.
Where we're licensing to every, not only clip show, morning show, talk show, syndicating our content to media publishers, working with brands and agencies from around the world.
Very cool. So this might be a really stupid question, but how do you guys decide what could potentially be another viral video? Because everybody wants to create one. They're very hard to do. And you guys seem to have had a bunch of them over the years become very viral. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. We've gotten some of the most viral videos in the world.
Yeah.
We've created videos that, have gotten, millions of views. On our programming side, the other side of our business, we do about 4 billion views a month.
Wow.
Which makes us one of the largest digital publishers in the entire world. Puts up in ranking next to Disney and Time Warner.
Wow.
So, because we've been doing this for quite some time, and the business hasn't evolved that much from the core purpose of us trying to monetize that content, we know what content that monetizes really well, that goes viral. We actually push in that reality for all the activities that we do because we're seeding it out all over the place. And so because we have so much historical data, that helps us inform on what videos we want to go out and acquire.
Smart. Okay. Interesting. So
we're getting very granular about that data. We have an entire data team that's looking at these videos all day long that helps us make decisions on if we want to acquire a video with 2 dogs that are over 30 seconds or a dog and a cat less than 30 seconds.
Interesting. Okay. So
I kind of made that up, but that's how granular we're getting.
Interesting. So do you guys have like your own kind of software that does some of this data crunching for you, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah, so we built this really incredible kind of system that we call RIF.
Okay.
It's an acronym for something that's got lost along the way.
Sure.
But it's really kind of the backbone system of our entire company that every department uses. And it's really it's more of a customized workflow system that we've been able to evolve and iterate over time as the business has matured and grown.
Sure. So what advice do you give people that are looking to go viral or get picked up by somebody like Jukin Media?
Well, I think the latter is that they can always submit us a video.
Okay.
But content that we're looking for that I think is that content that's very genuine and authentic. It's that lightning in the bottle moment.
Sure.
I think there are a lot of content creators. A lot of people make a business creating video content, bloggers, and they blog about it. They're influencers, they're blogs. They're creating their own content, but it's content, that works for us. Is content that's almost done by the accidental creators. It's really not the people trying to do it on purpose.
Interesting.
It's really content that meets a very certain criteria that people that want to share, they want to talk about, and often our content becomes that zeitgeist moment, that pop culture moment, whether it was Chewbacca Mom, whether it was a guy getting kicked in the head, or Tori burning her hair off with a curly iron.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, it's hard, right? Because, that's quite fascinating. So,
yeah, well, I would say it's really hard for anyone to kind of create that reality. It sometimes just happens being at the right time, at the right moment, because honestly, there's no algorithm, no amount of data that we have that we could tell you a woman putting a Chewbacca mask on is going to get 150 million views in 24 hours.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I guess it's also the person in the video and just how it's kind of not acted out, but just kind of how it plays out. Because if I put on a mask, it's probably not going to get any views, right? Like
right.
Yeah.
Me neither.
So
it's kind of how it plays out. It's a timing. It's the right time. It's the right moment. It's the right character. It's all those kind of elements. They're almost unexplainable, but they happen. I mean, look, we had a video called Pizza Rat.
Okay.
It was a rat dragging a piece of pizza down a flight of stairs. It was 15 seconds long, and it's become, it's now a Halloween costume. It's something John Oliver references every time he talks about the internet. It's a video that The New Yorker wrote about it. It was crazy phenomenon, the Pizza Rat video in New York.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I remember that video too. That's actually quite funny. Yeah. So I'm curious though. You guys mentioned you create your own content now. How do you decide what types of content to create? Because that's got to be really challenging in itself.
Yeah. So there's one side of the business which I kind of really went into details, the licensing syndication, where we're giving everyone our individual videos to use for their own creative, right? Whether that's MTV Ridiculousness, Good Morning America, ESPN, or some side of Pizza Hut wants to use the Pizza Rat video for a commercial, right? We're letting other people use a video. The other side of our business is really how we're taking these really great assets, these really great videos that we're then also promoting our licensing side of the business, but we've also then verticalized the library into these different categories and these different content verticals. And so what we've done is we created programming from these great assets and these great stories that fall in line in each one of these verticals. So we have our pet vertical called the Pet Collective.
Right.
We have our People Are Awesome vertical, which is inspiring ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Sure.
We have Fail Army.
Yeah.
And what we've done is create really great audience. We've create really great loyal fan base and audiences. Like I mentioned, we get about 4 billion-ish views a month.
Wow.
And we have about 180 million fans between our 5 verticals. And so we're programming content anywhere between 30 seconds and 5 minutes long, whether that's the individual video we're promoting for our licensing business, or it's a compilation of videos, it's a montage of videos, it's videos of factoids, or we're creating our original content from somebody in the video. So we have this great series, called the EO on People Are Awesome, where we feature one of our creators, one of our video suppliers, and we go behind the scenes and interview them, and they talk about their life, they talk about their lifestyle, they talk about what inspires them, and so it's really a docu-series. And so that's some of the original content we're doing on these verticals that we're super excited about.
Sure. So, I think that's awesome. So, but how do you guys decide which content to kind of create? Is it based on the data and you're like, people really like these types of videos in this category, so we should create a show around that? Or how does it kind of come together?
Yeah, it's a mix between the looking at the data, looking at what our audience wants. Right now, I'm doing a huge audience study on our audience, finding out what their likes are, what their hobbies are, where are they from, what type of content they want. It's always testing and iterating. It's putting different types of formats or different types of videos in front of the audience and really getting that feedback. And I think what's so great about digital content and online content, you can get feedback in real time.
Yeah.
And we're pretty nimble. We're a small, fairly small company that we could easily shift and easily change things. And so the very next video will have something else. And we'll also customize that video per platform. So the same format that lives, that when we post a video, we're posting on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat.
Sure.
Each platform is going to be customized for that audience and for that platform.
Okay. Interesting. So you do spend the extra time modifying the content to fit the platform. That's actually really good advice for people listening.
Absolutely, you have to. I mean, it's going to be shorter, longer. We'll switch scenes around. We'll make the opening shorter. We'll butt it in here. It's a really, really customizable, and it's a really interesting process the editors and producers do on our end. So
would you potentially shoot the same clip, for example, a couple of times for the different platforms, or do you handle it in editing, or is it a bit of both, or it really depends on what you're trying to do?
Combination of both, and it's not necessarily taking the clip. It's also and doing something different. It's also the way we shoot it, the technical aspects, because we're living in a world where, listen, again, I'm a student of cinema, and I love watching things, turning my phone to, there's actually my phone right now, turning my phone over. and watching it horizontal. But we're living in a world, especially with millennials, everything they see is vertical. So we're shooting it vertically.
I was going to ask you that, actually. Yeah, how much content are you shooting vertical? Quite a bit?
Especially as we get, we're getting bigger on platforms like Snapchat,
right.
Where a lot of folks are watching our content. We're definitely doing that. It's kind of crazy because, when we're licensing content, we're finding great stories. We used to almost ding it because it was shot vertically. Now it doesn't matter. It's almost like we need more vertical video on certain platforms.
Interesting. No, that's actually quite shocking. Well, not shocking, I guess, just how it's kind of evolved. But I'm curious.
Totally.
I'm curious to know, because you always probably get this question, but in your experience, how important is having really good high-end gear? Should you be shooting on a phone? A bit of both? Does it really not matter? What are your thoughts on gear?
Yeah, so it really kind of depends on what you're going for, right? And who your audience is and what's the purpose. We're living in this great technological wave that it doesn't matter what you shoot on.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. And I think that's what, even sometimes our videos, why we're able to license our content to brands and agencies, we're using the fact that it's not shot professionally, that it's authentic, and that this person holding up your Coca-Cola bottle, he's a fan, and this is why Coca-Cola, you should create a campaign around this person, and because it is a little shaky, it is a little green, just slightly, but it still gets the message across. In fact, our value prop for brands and agencies, when they want to license a piece of content that is user-generated or social video, that they should care that this content is going to be living natively on these social platforms, and that sometimes when you put that glossy car commercial or that glossy commercial on these platforms, people just swipe away. It takes them out of that experience.
Yeah.
And so when you use a piece of content like what we have, we say it feels very real. It feels authentic to that platform. And so it's one way how we're almost using the content being not professionally done as an advantage.
Sure. So
we use videos all the way across from the original assets that are shot wrong. Sometimes we'll shoot on iPhone to really high-end cameras. So we go across the spectrum.
Okay. And it also probably depends on the target markets you're trying to go after too,
Absolutely.
Right? Because obviously,
what is that purpose?
Sorry?
I said, what is that purpose? Yeah, exactly. Who you're targeting.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. And then you're trying to match the content to the platform. Is that kind of a simplified version of what you're trying to say? Okay. Interesting.
Absolutely. Because sometimes even like a cheesier set will work better for that younger audience that's not expecting a high-end set, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And even like how you set dress and how you your production values. But sometimes you need that higher production. Sometimes you need that to have a three set camera with all the correct lighting.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. That's actually quite fascinating, because you talk to some people and they're like, well, you always need to shoot 6K or 8K and then just, mash it down for whatever platform. It's like, well, sure, maybe, right? But it's good to hear from somebody like yourself that's obviously doing it, been very successful at it, talk about, well, you might need that, but you also might just need the camera on your phone as well, or somewhere in between there.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to the storytelling. That's number one.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Are you going to tell that? Yeah, right?
Sure. So do you guys create custom campaigns and content for some clients for the different platforms, or is that something you guys don't do?
Yeah, so for brands particularly, they really want to leverage that really loyal fan base that we've been able to build on one of our brands. And so they want our distribution. And so we'll sometimes take their assets, particularly for like movie trailers. We do a lot of work with the studios. Okay. And so they'll want their trailer in front of our audience. Right?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. And so we will put that. We will create a custom campaign. We can create a custom live activation. We can take a lot of the video assets that we have in our library and create some sort of listicle or theme around the product or the movie that they're launching. And they works better for video owners where they get paid on that content. And so it's a variety of basket of goods that we can offer folks that will leverage our brands. I'll tell you one other thing that we're doing, which is really exciting. So our first window is social video.
Okay.
But now we're packaging our brands, two of them, Fail Army and Pet Collective, on OTT and connected television.
Interesting.
And so we are now creating our own network, a 24/7 network with now not 5-minute programming blocks or 10-minute programming blocks with 30 seconds on social video and social media. We're now programming 30-minute programming blocks, 60-minute programming blocks.
Wow.
Which is very exciting for us right now. And we've seen our average watch time a year ago from 60, I think it was 30 minutes to now 65 minutes for the average viewer.
Wow. That's huge growth.
Yeah. I think it just shows you the power of this content, the power of brands. People love the lean back experience of putting on the Pet Collective and sitting back and watching pets. And maybe they're cooking dinner while they're doing that, or maybe they're playing with their pet.
Yeah, no, that's fair. What's your thoughts on, I don't know what the term for it is, or if there is even a term, and you can tell me if there is, but sometimes you load up something like Netflix and there's so much content that you spend 20 minutes, a half hour trying to decide what you want to watch. And then by the time you decide, you're kind of bored and you're just like, oh, I don't have time anymore. Or you go on to do something else, where people want content that they like, that they trust, that's tailored to them in spaces that they're interested in. To your point a second ago, like they'll watch the Pet Collective for an hour or Fail Army or your other brands because they know and trust that, and they don't have to spend that extra time trying to find content. What are your thoughts around that? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think people, that tuning in because they know what they're going to expect. They know what they want to see. It's this appointment viewing that they really, really understand the content and what's going to be coming out from the content. I think it's so powerful to create these really strong brands, brands where you know what's coming up next and what it's about. I think that really separates, folks out there who are creating content, that if you have a strong brand, you know what people are tuning in for.
Yeah, and it keeps that, like, you're almost overwhelmed by these huge content libraries now, right? And you spend so much time thinking and overanalyzing, and then you end up probably not watching anything, which I kind of find fascinating, how we've almost come back around to just, like, I just want to pull out the vinyl and listen to the album instead of just being, just
totally.
Yeah, it's an interesting space we've come.
Too much choices is not good. And I think you're starting to see when some of these really big companies that are producing all this content, the quality, you can't keep up with the quality. The quality control goes down. And you're starting to see that a little bit with Netflix. There was an article actually this week that the New York Post posted about that. They got some criticism, but it's something I really agree with. Quality is going to go down because there's no way they can possibly keep up that quality control when they're producing that much content, and the end result suffers, and so does the user. And there's been studies that too much choice is not too many choices is not a good thing. It's just a limited amount. That's why you have huge grocery stores like Trader Joe's with 2,000 items as opposed to any other grocery store that might have 20 to 50,000 items.
Interesting. They're kind of changing their. Oh, yeah, interesting. No, that makes a lot of sense.
You don't need 60, salad dressings. You just have 3 to choose from, right?
Yeah. No, that's actually really good advice. So, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, you create loyalty out of that because you kind of become this trusted curator.
Yeah, fair enough. Interesting. So, without maybe giving away anything you don't want to talk about, but I'm curious, do you have any predictions on where you see the space going, or things that you kind of see starting to organically happen, or you don't really know?
It's you know what's so fascinating right now? The media landscape is changing so freaking fast.
Sure.
There are so many different choices for consumers. Everyone's competing for eyeballs.
Yeah.
Everyone's competing for dollars. Subscription is obviously huge. Everything now has a plus in front of it. I don't know when that became a trend in the last 3 months.
Sure.
ESPN Plus, Apple Plus, whatever, Disney Plus. Everything's a plus now in front of it. You have this unbundling of everything and these subscription fees. And you know what's going to happen? The consumer is going to end up that they're complaining about, I think, the bundle, and they're complaining about the cable companies, rightfully so, to charge so much for content. But once you start adding all those subscription fees, it's going to be more than what you're paying for your cable at the end of the day for the same amount of content.
Well, that was that big thing that happened the other day with YouTube TV. They added those new channels and it went up $10-15, right? And you couldn't, you basically didn't have a choice. It was like, this is the day it's going up. And no, even if you were grandfathered in before when we did a price hike, not this price hike, everybody gets these, and you have to have these channels. And I read an article basically saying the same thing. It was kind of like, well, this feels very much like regular cable TV. Right. So it's interesting how the whole thing kind of comes full circle again. Right. And we'll probably go back. Yeah. Interesting. So, and
you kind of see this insurgence of AVOD right now, and that subscription is now coming from nowhere. Everyone's talking about AVOD, if you know, like the Pluto TVs of the world that was just bought out by Viacom.
Yeah.
That's an interesting model as well.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's fair. So you guys recently won an award at the Media Excellence Awards, and you won one last year. Do you want to talk about the importance of award shows and just getting your content out there and being recognized for what you're creating?
Yeah, so I think, these award shows, it really kind of shows a spotlight on some of the original content that we're creating. So I think the very first award that we won was last year. It was for a series that we did for Go90, which is Verizon's video platform.
Yeah.
It was a documentary series, all shot by Social Video.
Very cool.
Shot on the ground, cut together. We kind of took a new stab at documentaries, and so it was shot together through the person's point of view around these really great cultural events. It was a really great, each episode had a different cultural event told through the eyes of people on the ground, and it was a great series, and it was really awesome to get recognized for that series. And so that kind of, getting an award like that really kind of helps us put the stamp of approval on some of the content that we're creating. And so we decided to take a stab at this new type of series, this new type of documentary. And it was really great to win that award. And this last year we won an award for a docu-series that we did based on our brand People Are Awesome.
Sure.
We found this really great talent out of Europe. They were creating these really great stunts. And we said, why don't we do this travel doc series and then creating and building and performing these stunts? And it was really cool to be recognized for this award.
Very cool. But we're coming to the end of the show, so how about we close with mentioning where people can get more information about Jukin Media and any other links you want to mention? Yeah,
I think just the best place to find Jukin and learn more about Jukin Media is just, go to our website, jukinmedia.com, whether if you're a buyer that wants content, whether you want to submit content, if you're a brand and you're looking for social video to help empower your campaign. We'd love to hear from you. And, if you ever want to drop me a note, you can find me on Twitter at John Skogmo. So.
Perfect. Well, Jonathan, I really appreciate you taking the time into your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you, and have a good rest of your day, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the interest. You have a wonderful day as well.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Please visit our website at buildingthefutureshow.com to join the free community, sign up for our newsletter, or to sponsor the show. The music is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.